shorter than you think. No think.
The Holy Trinity, Bermuda, Alaskan, and Bridgewater triangles. Some say even notable deaths. The significance of 3 is undeniable. You are to bear witness to yet another event. We're invited to join your hosts, Krista, Aaron, and Brandy, as they guide you down the rabbit holes of the paranormal and unexplained, striving for answers of this world and beyond. Welcome to Blondes, Booze, and the Woo.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, good evening.
Hey, we're back. Woohoo. Good night.
Friday night. Woo! St. Patty's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Yep. I'm wearing my one green shirt I own, and I haven't worn it. I can't even tell you the last time I wore it. I don't wear it.
Well, you know, I wear green every now and again. I mean, it's not a big one for me either.
I don't like green on me. You know how some colors don't look right on people? Green doesn't look right on me.
I think it looks good, but hey, you know, whatever you feel. I mean, if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it.
Not feeling it. Never have felt it. That is one of the few colors of clothing that I do not have.
Well, you know, because we were laughing because Krista's shirt has a horse on it and mine has a dinosaur. So
yeah. Mine's horses carrying hope.
Mine's just a dinosaur.
Dinosaur, but they're green. That's all that's important, right?
That's right. That's right.
Happy St. Patty's Day to everybody. I'm not into green beer or none of that. Are you, Brandy?
No.
No.
No. I mean, if it's not vegetables, no.
No green beer for me. So anyway, but we want to thank everybody for being here. We're excited about tonight's show, and we're going to just talk a little bit of everything. We thought we would start off paranormal and just see where it goes from there. What do you think, Brandy?
Absolutely. He has so much information and so many stories. I mean, you can't nail it down to just one. It's just you've got to bounce around with him because he's just a lot of fun, and I really enjoy talking with him. So,
yeah, me too. Hey, do you want to tell everybody what to watch next week?
Sure. On Monday night, you have Texas Front Porch at 6:30 p.m. Central. Tuesday, you have at 7 p.m. Central, you have Van Buren Variety. At 8 p.m. Central, you have Beyond BMR with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central, you have, he's going to kill me. I do this every show. I forget one of them, and I swear they're going to lynch me one day. I swear. You have Jason McLean Questions Everything. On Thursday at 12 p.m. Central, you have Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, which features our very own Krista. On Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Central, you have Blondes and Booze. Friday night, of course, you have Blondes, Booze, and the Woo. And as of April 1st, they're dropping their first episode ever of Infamous Minds. That will be Tex and Danielle Diva. Mm-hmm. So be on the lookout for that. And also, I wanted to remind everybody who is on Facebook, if you like to Facebook, Blondes and Booze is on Facebook. Come join our group. Bigfoot Michigan Rob's on Facebook. Go join his group also. And Tex has a new one just started out. And, you know, get on the front porch on Facebook.
Yep. And we will, on all of those pages, we will be, promoting some of our upcoming shows and events and all that good stuff too.
You may get a little sneak peek here and there.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to bring Mr. Owl up. Let's see.
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
You can't see me?
No.
Wow, that's weird. I can see you guys.
Your whole screen is blacked out.
Oh, there you are.
You're back.
Wow, that was weird.
That is weird because I could see you before we come live. We were talking.
I
Yeah,
know, we
before
just
we
seen you.
didn't have any issues before. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have a little green on under my plaid shirt. I have a Michigan dog man shirt my brother sent me for my birthday, and the dog man is actually green. So
Perfect.
There you go.
yeah.
You have
So I
green
do have
on.
I have a little green on tonight.
There you go. That's what I always used to say. Socks and underwear count too, you know.
Right. Well, I added some bracelets too,
Right.
so
Right.
you know, looks like I put some effort into it.
Yeah, exactly. So we've both, I guess, have talked to you because you were on brunch with BMR with myself and
Yep.
Rob, and then I believe you were on Texas Front Porch with Brandy and Tex.
Yep,
Yes.
absolutely. Yep.
So we're old friends,
Yeah. We've been around the block together. Yeah,
right?
absolutely, yeah.
It's all the women tonight. Woo!
Do you want to like tell everybody like how you got started? Let's talk paranormal, and then we'll do some cryptid and UFO if we have time.
Okay, absolutely,
So,
sure.
just want to tell everybody how you got started with it. And I just want to remind everybody, if you guys have questions, please put them in caps lock. And at the second half of the show, we'll go back and answer the questions.
Because
So,
I'm blind without my glasses anyway, so just
Right.
Me too, absolutely.
I wear them.
I have glasses all over the house because I never wear my glasses.
Me
I didn't
too.
I didn't go blind till like last year. Then last year I went totally blind. So now I have glasses all over the house. So no matter where I am, I know there's a pair there that I'll be able to see with. But I got started with me when I was like 5 years old. The very first apparition I seen was a full body apparition of my grandmother. She when she lived with us, and when she passed, I got her room, and I was sleeping in her bed with her pillows and her blankets. And for the first week, she would come every night and tuck me in.
Wow.
And so that's how it started. My mother would have psychic impressions. She was what do you call it? She used to get premonitions. My mother would get premonitions. It didn't matter where she was, if she was in Florida visiting my sister, or Michigan visiting my brother, or Italy visiting family. If something happened in the family, they always went to my mother. And then my mother would call New York and say, go check on this one, go check on that one. And it was always, somebody would always pass. They would go see her first.
Wow.
So my brother's a parapsychologist. He was like one of the very first ones in the United States. And he worked with Hans Holzer's right-hand man and Hans Holzer's psychic Ethel. They worked together.
Wow.
And of course, as soon as he finished reading every book under the sun, I read all his books as well. I had an aunt who's a white witch, and she took a couple of evil eyes off of me over the years. And I had a cousin who was a black witch who practiced dark stuff. So there was always, like, as a kid growing up in our family, my cousins were like my brothers. There was a lot of us, and we're always over at everybody's house. There was just and at one of my aunt's house, they would always do like seances and Ouija boards and stuff like that. And if I'm visiting, sleeping over, we would always creep out in the middle of the night to watch them, doing what they were doing and stuff. And so that's so for me, the paranormal is normal. I didn't realize that I was living a paranormal life until I actually started getting 10, 12 years old and started talking to my friends in the neighborhood, and they were like, dude, that's not normal, and I was like, okay, well, it isn't my family,
Right.
But that's how it all started.
Okay, gotcha. What are you? I heard you mention the Ouija board. What are your views on the board?
Oh, I don't play with Ouija boards. Absolutely not. I do not. I don't recommend people playing with Ouija boards. I did a cleansing not too long ago where neighbors of a family that I had to cleanse their house, their neighbors, they had a revolutionary cemetery in their backyard.
Yeah.
And the kids down the street, maybe 3 houses over, went into the cemetery one night, get high, whatever, and they played with a Ouija board. And because the family that I was working with were indigo children,
Yeah.
it was like second and third generation. This thing ended up in their house,
Yeah. Gotcha.
and it was just, it was a long investigation. And I had Katie Turner from the Travel Channel. She's a world-renowned psychic, dear friend of mine. I love her to death. She helped me with it. She did a walkthrough with me. She told me what I needed and everything. And and then these people moved out of the neighborhood and they left this door open,
Yeah.
And if I didn't go over there and do what I had to do to close it, it would still be open. Yeah, it was crazy. I don't play with them. I don't recommend people playing with them. I know my brother used them when he was investigating, but he would close them immediately when he was done with the session, or if something happened. Like he was telling me one time he was doing a session and the planchette started moving on its own. Like they were away from it for a minute. They were taking a break because they had all kinds of information come through and the family was like really distraught. So they said, oh, let's take a break. And they left the door open and then the planchette started moving on its own. And my brother's like, oh, no, we got to go. I'm going to go back and close this thing right now. You know what I mean? And close this door because the portal was open, so he closed it and I didn't have any more problems after that. But there was, I don't play with them. I just don't play with them.
Yeah, I agree. I personally don't play with them. However, I feel like, they get in the wrong hands. Kids use them or, people that don't know what they're doing or how to close them. So to me, it's about intention, so if you put out bad intention, then you're going to get bad intention. However, if you, as we know, there are a lot of tricksters on the other side, so something that seems innocent can come through the board. However, could actually be something demonic or very negative,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Look, if I know a lot of psychics, real psychics. Being from New York, I didn't believe that any psychic was real when I first started this thing, until our team psychic joined our team, and she was from Arkansas, and she was like third generation, or like she was fifth generation, and she would tell us stuff, and it always came through. And she said she would read everything through me because I'm a conduit. She said, but when she started nailing stuff, boom, 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 then I said, oh wow, there are real psychics, and she did that right from the very first investigation we ever did. She was on the money with everything, and I got to be brutally honest with you. Me and Brian and the guys on the team, all being New Yorkers, she tells us some stuff that's really off the charts, and we look at her and we say, Cindy, what the hell are you smoking? There's no way on God's great earth this is going to come through. And we don't even go out looking for what she says because we can't even comprehend what she's talking about. But at the end of the night, when it's all said and done, everything that she said is going to happen happens all the time. All the time. And then I said, okay, now I know she's real. There are real ones. And then, the longer you're in the field, the more people you meet, and then you get to know people. Like I was at a meetup 2 months ago, and my mother-in-law had just passed. And it was a world-renowned psychic that you probably know her, April, from the New Jersey Housewives, April. I can't think of her. I can't think of her last name. And she was there, and she was doing readings, and I was just sitting in the back of the room. I never asked anybody for a reading. Even my psychic says, you're the only person I know that's never asked me for a reading. I'm good with what I am. I know where I am and who I am, and I'm good with it. And she came over to me, and she made a beeline to me, and I was like, oh God. And she just started spitting out stuff. But it wasn't for me. It was for my wife, the message, And it was all about her mom who passed. And I was like, I can't even tell my wife this stuff because my wife doesn't believe in any of this stuff, So I gave it to my daughter to tell her mother. And my daughter passed. My daughter passed that information along, But she was just, I never meant to swim from a hole in the wall. And she just was saying stuff that there was no way on God's green earth she could have known. and she just blew my mind. And again, like I have a friend of mine, Dave Cook. He's got a podcast, comes out of Vegas, but he's from the UK.
Uh-huh.
And again, I just had a dear friend of mine pass away. It was like a little brother to me. And after the show was over, Dave just started spitting out all kinds of stuff about this. Like, Al, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that, bada boom. And I was like, okay. I didn't ask him for it, and he says, oh, we got to put this into the show. I got to edit it all in because this was really good stuff, And I was like, you do whatever you want. But, so yeah, there are real psychics, and you have one on your team, and, so it's, no, and so these people, there are people who know how to play with these boards, who know how to manipulate the board, not to let anything negative through, because they can feel the negative energy. It's hard to fool these people because of how in tune they are with the universe. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they can use those boards as a tool, right? We have a lot of tools in the paranormal. We use all kinds of stuff to make communication, to communicate with, from ovulists to EVPs, digital voice recorders, all kinds of stuff. So it's a tool, but it's a real tricky tool. And if you don't have the ability to sense dark or negative things, and you don't know how to close it and get them to go back to where they came from, it could really create a lot of havoc. And so I don't recommend using it, but I do know people who do, and they know how to do it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, we have a friend too that he uses it at different locations that he does, but that's his thing, and he knows how to close it. He knows what he's doing. Then and like you mentioned, the other pieces of equipment, it's still a form of communication, with the other side. So, and I have had people ask that, why is a Ouija board not okay? But yet, like you said, an obelisk running around.
Or using a pendulum,
I use a pendulum all the time. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's all your intent. Intent is a big thing, and it's a big thing in every field of the paranormal. What we call paranormal is all normal in the big picture of things, in the ether of the universe. You know what I mean? It's all normal. We just haven't ascended to a high enough level to understand it all. You know what I mean? But it's all normal, and I agree. It's a tool, and what I always do when I go out is I cleanse everything before I go out. I cleanse myself. I know a lot of people don't like to cleanse themselves before they go, because then they said they can't make communication. No, you can still communicate, but by protecting yourself, you are not going to communicate with anything dark or negative. You know what I mean? You're just going to communicate with something that wants to be heard, or has a message for somebody, So I always, and then when I'm done, I cleanse everything before I put everything back in the car. I cleanse everything, every tool, every piece of equipment I use, because you're using that equipment to make contact. If the intention is there. So, I just did a thing not too long ago with a friend of mine who has 2 haunted dolls. These things don't just attach to dolls. They can attach to anything, anything you have, they can attach to. So I cleanse before I cleanse. After, I protect 24/7. I go above and beyond the call of duty. And I tell people all the time, I got a lot of friends who are squatchers, and they go in the woods, they got their 45s and their Bowie knives, and I'm like, yeah, you have to protect physically, but you have to protect spiritually as well, because you don't know what you're walking into, who was there before you, who done what in there, who conjured what. So you better be protected physically and spiritually when you go in the woods. Otherwise, you may come out a different person.
Yeah, and that is so true. A week ago tonight, I was at the LBL, and we went to the kill site, and on our way driving there, on my whole trip going there, I was doing my protection, my grounding, the whole 9 yards. But from our campsite to to the kill site, I did my little white light and all that good stuff, on the way there, just because, we were going looking, for the cryptid side of things, but however, we did run some EVP sessions too, so you just never know.
No, you don't know what's coming through. You don't know what you're walking into. I have a location here that we go to that is so off the charts. My team psychic, and she's Native American too. She said she's never felt energy like this place ever before. And she's in Arkansas with all of that quartz crystal and everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The energy in Arkansas must be through the roof with all that quartz crystal. And she said this place is just off the charts. It's just unbelievable. And she says, you have to, because she believes that it's because the energy is so high that portals naturally happen there and stuff comes in and out all the time.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And and we have seen, you name it, we've seen Bigfoots there, we've seen dogmen there, we've seen gnomes there, we've seen fairies there, we've seen shadow figures there, everything. We've seen UFOs there. As a matter of fact, we think we lost 2 hours of time, but that's another story.
Wow.
No, I mean, it's just, the place is off the charts. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you. What do you think when it comes to seances? Now, because you have to have a group of people normally to perform one of these, do you think that opens up everybody in the group? I mean, I understand that we're talking about opening a door, but do you think that it opens up every individual in the group to be susceptible?
I don't think it opens up everybody. I think what the seance does is all like-minded people with one intention to create something, to open something up. But more than anything, it's using everybody's energy to create that opening, to create that portal. So you may have somebody at the table who's a non-believer, who thinks it's all a crock of shit, you know what I mean? But he's engaged with the next people on either side of him who are believers, so they're still using his energy, you know what I mean? Whether it's negative or positive, it's energy to be used, I did a thing at the Hoover House in Pennsylvania last year. Oh my God, with table tipping and stuff like this. Oh my God, it was off the charts. My wife looked under the table for wires. That's how crazy it was. She's like, no, there's no wires under this table, Oh my God. Yeah.
Real quick, War Criminal 7 says he likes EVPs with digital recorder and spirit box, but he's not comfortable doing it. And honestly, when I was at the LBL, he was the one of them that I was there with, and it was his recorder that I was using. So, and people they're not comfortable doing it because you are, essentially inviting something, you are communicating with something,
Yeah, well, then you know what? He probably shouldn't do it. If he's not comfortable doing it, then he shouldn't do it.
Yep.
And
that's what I
like
told
that
him.
recorder, he should just give that recorder to you, or transfer that recording over to you. This way, he's not carrying it around with him.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't do it if you don't feel comfortable about doing stuff. Don't do it. I've been to investigations when I was a kid. 16 years old. It was my brother. My brother lived out on Long Island by the Amityville Amityville he lived in. So one night, me, him, and a bunch of his friends, all these paranormal guys, were going over to Amityville to the house to check it out. I was the photographer because that's what I did. As I went to school for photography, so I was the photographer in the group, and we were sitting in the car. And as we were getting closer and closer to the house, I was getting more and more anxiety, and I was like, you know what? This is a bad idea. Maybe we should turn around and we shouldn't do it. And my brother's like, you're the biggest guy. At 16, I was the biggest guy in the car. You're the biggest guy in the car. You want to turn? I was like, Frank, you don't understand. This is not about physical, fitness and stuff like that. There's something dark there, man. I'm feeling something dark. And then when we pulled into the driveway is like a mile long with these giant trees. And as we were going down the driveway, we finally got to the end of the driveway, and everybody started getting out. I just gave my brother the camera and said, I'm not going in there.
Yeah.
I said, you do whatever you have to do. I'll wait for you here in the car, you know?
Mhm.
And he goes like, my brother's like, you gotta be kidding me. And I was like,
Yeah.
my brother, with all of his intelligence and research and everything else, he's never really had a lot of paranormal experiences. He doesn't feel stuff the way I do, or me and my sister do. We're more like my mother. You know what I mean? He's seen one UFO as a kid and riding over the Alps in Italy on a bicycle. You know what I mean? I've seen a million UFOs, you know, and I told him not going in there, Frank. And he's like, okay. And he went in and they did their thing and nothing happened to anybody.
Yeah.
But maybe that warning was for me, you know,
Yeah.
and maybe if I went in there, something would have happened to me. So I never left the car. And I did that again with a couple of my best friends. We went to this mansion in Connecticut in the middle of the woods. It was a creepy little town. It was like, you know, as soon as we pulled in, the sheriff was like, what are you guys doing here? You know, and I'm like, we're going to the diner to get something to eat, you know, because my friend was going to school to fix cars. And it was in Connecticut, and he had met somebody from that town who was going to school there. He said, you guys got to come up to this mansion. My friend's car, he had a Barracuda, so it was all souped up. And, you know, it was a badass car. It really was, you know.
Yeah.
So the sheriff wasn't happy that we rolled into town with this Barracuda. And we went to that house. And again, I mean, I went there. I got a bad vibe. It didn't make any sense to me that you had this $1 zillion home in the middle of the woods up against the lake with all kinds of stuff still in it, crystals and marble and all this, and nobody ever stole anything out of the place.
Yeah.
No one ever, when the kids didn't go in there to party, you know. So when it was time to go in, I was walking around the grounds taking photographs.
Wow.
And I got a picture of somebody on the top floor looking out at me. There was nobody in there, right? But when it was time to go in, I gave my cameras to my friends, you know, and they went in, and one went down into the basement and one went upstairs, and the guy went upstairs, got thrown down marble steps, and these steps were so wide. They had to be like 8 feet wide. You could have drove a car up them, you know.
Wow.
Something threw him down head over heels, and my other friend was down in the basement. It was like a game room or something, you know, with the pool tables and all the heads on the walls. And he said he got attacked by, he called it a creature because it ripped his shirt off his back and left 3 scratches across his chest. And they came running out of there in the middle of the night, screaming high heaven. And the only thing I was asking, where are my cameras? I need my cameras for school, you know, don't leave my cameras in there, but they can't. I mean, but again, I got the feeling like this place wasn't safe. So if if you think you shouldn't do it, then you shouldn't do it. We vet everybody before we go out. My psychic vets everybody. She reads everybody. If you have subconscious fear, you can't go.
Yeah.
You can't go. You have to stay home. You can't even be on the grounds with us because you're like a bullseye, a beacon for these things. You know what I mean? So we don't ever let anybody come.
Not only like, you know, mentally, but physically too. You know, you can't be, you know, having a cold or, you know, something going on either. I mean, you have to be at your best. I wholeheartedly agree with you on that.
You know, I was just getting ready to say that. Yeah, absolutely. You know, have you ever like went to a location, but yet even driving through a town to get there or just leading up to where you're going is so creepy. You get that vibe and you're just, it's like everything you prepared for goes right out the window. You're just like, oh, Jesus, now I know I'm in for it. You already know before you even get there.
You know, I don't usually go against my gut feeling. When I get a gut feeling, I usually stick with my gut. But every now and then I roll the dice, you know what I mean? Because I've traveled a long distance to get there, and I put a lot of money into the trip, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to force myself to, even though every fiber of my being says don't do it, I push the envelope. But far and few between. I've been very lucky. Nothing has ever happened to me on those trips. But you know, if you have any doubt about what you're doing, then don't do it. I can't emphasize how important intent is. It really is. Your intentions are so big, so big. Yeah. and not even your conscious intentions, but your subconscious intentions. Because you may think I'm just going there to do research, but in the back of your head, you're thinking, man, I hope something dark happens. I see a demon or something, but you're not telling everybody you're with that, right?
Right.
But that intention is there, So it's a big deal. It really is.
Yep. Wholeheartedly agree with you on that. So when did you, I got to know. So when did you meet John Zaffis?
Okay. What happened with John? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, when did you meet John Zaffis?
Oh, I met John years ago down at the Jersey Paranormal. What's it called? Oh man, I can't think of it. John Ruggiero puts it together. It's the Paranormal Unity event. It's called Paranormal Unity event in New Jersey. And I met John Zaffis down there years ago. But I was supposed to go out with him 2 or 3 times over the years at events that he was going to be at, that we were going to investigate at, and something always came up and knocked me out of the box, so I never got. So then recently we did something and he was there, and I got to actually work with him, and he's a fun guy, really good guy. And then a couple of weeks ago we did something. We were doing an art museum in Orange County, New York. And everybody was meeting at a restaurant before, and we're all having dinner, getting ready to go. And nobody knew Zaffis was going to come. And all of a sudden, Zaffis walks into the restaurant and sits like, "Oh, you're really, I can't believe you're coming." I go, "What made you come?" He said, "I just felt like coming." I was like, "Cool." Yeah. And we had a great night that night. That was an amazing night. I left early because during the middle of one of our EVP sessions, they were working with the plasma box. And John's got an amazing ear. He can hear everything. I was sitting on some steel chairs and they started killing my back. And I was like, you know what? I got shit I got to do tomorrow. If I stay here any longer, I won't be able to get out of bed tomorrow. So I left early. But even though I left at 10 o'clock, I think they stayed there till like the wee hours. But even though I left at 10, we got in the place at 5. So I had 5 hours of investigating. I don't know if you've seen the stuff I put up with the quartz crystal talking to the dolls, and it was spinning one way, then it spun the other, then it stopped. I mean, and then actually one of the dolls actually made it swing on a 45-degree angle towards the person who owned it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was just amazing stuff. That night I went all old school. I decided to go all old school, and no ITC stuff. Strictly old school. Still didn't get my 35mm film developed yet, but
that's cool. That's
really my Polaroids. I didn't catch anything on them. John thought I had caught a couple of things, but when we went back, we debunked it that it wasn't really anything. So it was just stuff that was hanging on the wall, nonsense. Yeah. But I did. I went all old school, but that place was crazy because when I go out with, again, it was all paranormal investigators, like 5 different teams, and it's very, very cool when you work with other people. Some people you worked with before, some people you haven't. It's new, and I like to just go and do my own thing. You know what I mean? And I went down into the basement where this building, which is an art school now, used to be a funeral parlor, and they still had the embalming fluid sinks downstairs. So I went down into the basement, and as soon as I got off the landing, I felt like I was on a boat in bad waters, rough waters. I was walking like this because I was hanging up jingle bells. I was doing all old school stuff. Had these jingle bells. I guess the jingle bells rang and everything. And I was like, man, this is so weird. I never felt this before, And then as I was in the back of the basement, another woman came down and she's walking across and she's doing the same thing I did. She goes, "Are you feeling this?" I go, "Yeah, I'm feeling it. It's crazy, I had never had that experience ever before, and we went in there and we did that. And then when I was in there, for some reason, and I don't know why, every now and then I'll hear a voice that says, "Touch this, do that," and a little voice in my head said, touch the foundation, because it was made out of stone. And I'm a big fan of the tape theory, you know, the stone tape theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I touched the foundation, and then the voice said to me again, touch the door. And it looked like an old, thick door. It was like 4 inches thick from like 1800s. And I touched these two pieces, the door and the wall, and I got the image in my mind's eye of the Underground Railroad. Now, there was a girl there who did all the history on the house, and there was no mention of the Underground Railroad. At one point, we were doing the plasma box, and there was another woman there who's a big TV star. She's a psychic too. And we're doing the plasma box, and we're talking, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I asked the girl, I said, her name was Nicole. I said, Nick, you're the historian. Was this house used for the Underground Railroad? And she said, no, there's no records of this house being used, but the town was. And then the woman who's a TV star, the real psychic, right? Not me. And she says, what made you say that, Al? And I told her why. And she says, oh my God, I did the same thing when I was down there. She said, and I got the same image in my mind's eye as well. So maybe they were hiding slaves in there because, you know, it was a funeral parlor. Nobody wanted to go downstairs in the basement or whatever. But
yeah,
I mean, and then there was another room off the main room, which is like a sunroom. That's just the energy that was in there wasn't dark, but it didn't want us there. Like when you opened the door to go in, you felt like a force pushing you out. And again, this woman who's the psychic, she felt the same thing. And she's like, you feel that? And I went in there with my dowsing rods. And what I did was I painted my dowsing rods with orange reflective paint, right? So when I'm in there in the dark and I'm filming, or if someone else is filming in UV or IR, you can see those things spinning like a helicopter tops, you know, if the UV light is hitting it or the IR light is hitting it. And I was sitting in there, and these things were just going crazy, absolutely crazy. And it just did not want anybody in that room. You know, it's like, do you want us out here? He said, yes, I want you out, you know. Those were, to me, were the only two rooms that had a lot of energy. We were waiting for the people on the third floor to leave, but they were there all goddamn night. And I know they went up there eventually, and they did stuff. They did work upstairs as well. I ran up there while we weren't supposed to go up there where other people were up there. But I went up there anyway, and I just took pictures. I didn't do anything else but to take pictures. And I didn't get anything in my photographs. And like I said, I left early because my back was killing me. And it was funny, too, because on the way back, I called Brian, right? And I said, dude, I just left the investigation. And we're talking. And 2 UFOs show up in front of me, and I'm telling Brian about this, you know, these UFOs. And Brian goes on the New York State flight paths for the airports around here to see if there was anything coming out of any of the local airports. He goes, dude, there's nothing coming out of any of those airports around you. I go, dude, these are not planes. Believe me, what I'm looking at, these are not planes, you know. But if I didn't leave at that time, I would have never seen those things. So maybe I was destined to leave at that time. I don't know.
Right. Wow, that's crazy. Crazy stuff. Well, we met John Zaffis here a couple weeks ago, and he his table was right next to ours, so we chatted quite a bit with him. And actually, Brandy ended up singing some karaoke with him, and Letitia Nunley gave him a shoulder massage because he was stiff from his flight. He had been trying 2 days to get out of Connecticut to fly to Michigan.
Wow.
And he may or may not have come across another haunted doll while we were there.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Yeah. It came in a raffle type of thing, and this woman said, "Hey, John, this is not going home with me.
And did he take
Here's your gift." You know, she's like,
wow.
"Here." Now, and the funny thing was about it is when it was sent to the person to make up these things for the raffle, we were there at the Potographs Parafest 4 in there in Michigan, and when it was sent in a box, but it had a kitchen knife in it.
Oh man, come on.
Mhm.
We
no,
don't know
I'm
why
out.
it had a kitchen knife in it,
Yeah, that's done. I'm out.
and it
Absolutely.
was just really creepy. So, Mr. Zaffis went home with that doll.
Yeah.
Yeah, girl. If anyone could go home with
Yeah,
it,
he
they're
went
saying
home with
that
the
for
doll.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
like, yeah, nobody's taking that doll home, you know.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. I mean, the two dolls that we were working with the night I was with John, they didn't have anything negative attached to them. They just had energy attached to them. You
Sure.
know, it wasn't anything dark or negative like where you couldn't bring the dolls in your house or you had to put it under glass surrounded by salt. No, there's just energy attached to these two particular dolls, but nothing negative. I don't play with anything negative. If people call me, I was supposed to do a cleansing with John Zaffis and Larry and Deb Elward, right from up here. That Larry's a priest and an exorcist, and Deb is a psychic. And I found out the second time I met John, I found out that they were actually related. You know what I mean? They didn't even
Mm-hmm.
know they were related, but they did a lot of work together. So now they're actually found out they were related somewhere down the line. And I was telling him that, I had gotten these people to get a friend of mine, to cleanse a friend of mine who went swatching in the woods and came back with something dark,
Mhm.
And he's like, Al, you got to help me. I got my grandkids living with me. And I was like, let me reach out to these people I know. They live in Connecticut. This guy lives in Connecticut. And it just worked out and they got rid of it.
Yeah.
So then when I had another client call me and needed something and she's got some really dark stuff going on there, I was like, well, this is above my pay grade. So when I was
Mhm.
telling Larry and Deb about it, they were telling John. So then Deb called me and said, John wants to come too. Can he come? I said, absolutely. More the merrier. I said, I'm just dropping you guys off and then I'm leaving, This is above my pay grade.
Yeah.
And she says, well, I'll tell you what. She says, let me go in there and see what's there because, sometimes what people think are the most demonic thing is nothing,
Mhm.
And she goes, if it's safe for you to be there, I'd like you to stay and film. I said, well, if you tell me it's safe for me to be there, I'll stay and film.
Yeah.
But all my intentions are just dropping you guys off, introducing you to the homeowner, the clients, and getting out of Dodge. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't play with that stuff. It's above my pay grade.
You mentioned you just made a comment about out doing research on the cryptid side of it, and somebody picked something up out there. I just helped a gentleman recently also who was out doing research, looking in the cryptid side of things, and he got an attachment. How common do you think that is? Because you're with this guy that I helped, and then the one you were just talking about.
I think it's very common. I think
Mhm.
not only is it common, because you got to remember, at one point, this whole world were woods. So we were living in the woods before there were cities, towns, counties, and states.
Sure.
So people from the beginning of time have been practicing rituals in the woods, whether they're good rituals, whether they're dark rituals. It was all being practiced in the woods.
Yeah.
And I can tell you for a fact that we have an area up here that has these ancient stone chambers built on them, right? There's like 3 or 4 chambers right in a row along this line. And I can tell you for a fact, not only is there ley lines underneath these ancient stone chambers, but there's quartz crystal under them.
Mhm.
There may be aquifers as well, because there's a lot of water around these places, reservoirs and lakes. But not only that, there is a Buddhist temple built on these ley lines, and right next to that is a Catholic church, not a church, but what do they call that, where the priests live and everything, monastery, right? And they're all on this same stretch of road.
Wow.
And that doesn't happen as an accident.
Mhm.
These people, something told them to build these things there, and they figured it out. And I'm sure it has to do with the energy in the area, and they were all built there for a reason. And
Yeah.
we've had some amazing experiences in those chambers as well. But I mean, so there's reasons for stuff being in the woods, like the place I was telling you guys earlier about, that's off the charts. Like my psychic has never felt anything like that.
Mhm.
At one point, the U.S. government mined uranium there. There was a facility on the lake where they refined it. there was an accident. It fell into the lake. But before that, there was iron ore mines there. I'm sure there are quartz crystal veins there. I'm sure there are aquifers there. I'm sure the Native Americans seen UFOs come down and take precious metals from there, because even to this day, UFOs come down and siphon water out of this lake. Balls of light come in, fly in and out of the lake. I was told that the site, one of the sites that I have, which I call the sacred site, was a sacred site. It's crazy. It's on a high plateau. You'll never see it from the main trail. I got lucky when I found it because it was a fire in the woods and it was a burnout, and I seen it. Giant megalithic stones set up in a circle the size of a football field with thousands of smaller stones on top. My psychic says that white men built it thousands and thousands of years ago. The Native Americans used it as a sacred site, and I believe that Sasquatch used it as a sacred site as well.
Yeah.
And I have so much activity there, and I've been here so many times. I have such a good rapport with the family or the clan that's there in that area, that I've never had anything bad happen to me there. And the energy inside this circle is so calm, and so it's like the most unbelievable. I told I'm not the type of guy that sleeps out underneath the stars on a sleeping bag. If I'm going to sleep outside, I'm going to want to be at least in a tent,
Right.
Well, I told the guys on my team, there's this giant arch there. I said, I could lay a sleeping bag down underneath this arch and sleep like a baby and not worry about anything bothering me. That's the kind of energy that's this place. Just unbelievable. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Well, there are places where I feel that comfortable too. I mean, where you may have a lot of activity and things are going on, but you feel comfortable, you feel at peace. And I take naps. That's what I do. I take naps.
We do.
I've never taken any naps.
We do. We have a quick question, Brandy. I'm going to answer that. And then the other question in there is on it's for Al about dogmen, but we'll wait for that one when we come back from break. But I want to go ahead and answer this one since it's on the paranormal realm.
Yes.
It says, Krista or Brandy question, have either of you had a spirit talk to you in one form or another? Lily Patty asked. Yes. I mean, to me, just when they speak to you, it can be, I've heard audible. I've had them speak through a recorder. I've had them speak through Ovilus, the whole 9 yards. So absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And if you didn't catch a show last night, I talked about it a little bit. I think I have a hitchhiker. We're going in, we're going to figure out exactly how I want to do away with all this. But yeah, I came home, I laid down in bed and got snuggled in, getting ready to go to sleep. I heard a male voice that said in my ear, not in my head, in my ear, called my name. Audible, just said my name. And that was just recently. So yeah, it happens quite a bit. Even times when you don't want it. I work in a place where it's been open for 50 years. So people have come and gone through there. People have who have worked there passed away. Every once in a while, I hear them too. I'll catch a glimpse of them at work. You don't expect to see people. Because we have like 180 something people working in our building, and I see them. I see all of them most of the time. So I know who works there basically. But every once in a while, I'll see somebody who just doesn't fit. It's probably their style of clothing, or, it could be even what style glasses they're wearing. It's like, you don't belong here. So yeah, we do see it quite often and quite a bit.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And when you do this stuff long enough, you'll experience everything. And like I said it all the time, the longer you're in it, the more sensitive you get to different energies, and you become like, I've never claimed to be psychic by any stretch of the imagination, but I've had psychics tell me I'm clear this, I'm clear that, you know, and it's because I may touch something and then get like an image or something in my head, or I may hear a voice in my head that says do this instead of doing that, you know. And they said because I can do all of these little things, I don't claim that I can do them all the time, but I do them enough when I'm on investigations that I do them without even realize I'm doing it, you know. And so then I have psychics who know, you know, that are real. They can do everything all the time. Tell me, you know, you're this, you're that, you're the other thing. I was like, well, that's fine. If I do what you tell me I'm doing, and that's what you call it, that's fine. But I don't really claim to be anything, you know, psychic.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Well, we're coming up to the 52-minute mark here, Krista. But after the break, I want to say a few things about what happened last night, because I want to tell everybody how we got a little feisty.
Okay, we can do that, and then when we come back to, I'd like maybe to talk some cryptid and UFO.
Yes, we got to hear some cryptid stories, absolutely, because they are fabulous.
Al does have a question that I starred, so we'll start out by doing that. So if you guys give us just 5 minutes, and we will be back. We have to say goodbye and good night to the radio stations. If you want to continue,
but if you're listening, come on back here to YouTube. We're still here.
Yep, to Blondes and Booze. So anyway, we'll see everybody in 5 minutes.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. Two-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Everybody, welcome back. Appreciate y'all hanging out and sticking with us. Real quick here, let me see if I can find it. Let me see here. I don't know if it's on this one or this computer, this side or not. It is. This event here, we have going on July 7th. It'll be at Malvern Manor in Malvern, Iowa. And
Or is that July 8th?
July 8th. Yeah, my bad.
That's all right.
Yeah. Anyway.
We have so many dates floating around. Sometimes we get them confused. Oh, well.
We do. So we have Tex is going to come up and join us. And then we have Terry Mosby, our friend. And then Josh Hurd himself is going to stay and investigate with all of us. So that'll be a fun night. And tickets will go on sale for that a week from tomorrow. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, and that's going to be exciting because we're going to have cryptid, we're going to have UFO and paranormal all in the same spot. So this should be very interesting.
Yep. Absolutely.
Good luck with that, ladies.
Fun night. So,
it's going to be a great night.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, Al, because I mean, like we were talking, that all of these things are kind of like they're meshing together. So it's
They're
not that far
They're
of a
all
reach.
Connected. No, it's not. But you got to understand that this field, I've been doing this a long time and going to symposiums for a long time. And when you put those three genres together, they don't always get along with one another. You know, I've been in symposiums where we would go, it would be a UFO thing, and we would get invited, and all the ufologists would freak out and say, what are these ghost hunters doing here, you know? Because we just had one banner then, you know? So now we have a banner for everything. So no matter where we go, when we go to the UFO stuff, now we're the New York State UFO Project, and nobody has an issue.
Right.
Go to a cryptid seminar with a UFO banner and see how people treat you, you know what I mean? And it's brutal. So now we have our, you know, either our Sasquatch banner, the New York State Sasquatch Organization, or the New York State Dogman banner that we'll bring them both, you know, that's why nobody gives us any grief, but good luck with the one you're going to.
Yeah. It's our event, so it's
your event.
Fun.
Yeah, we're gonna put it on.
Yeah.
Okay, good. No, and I wish you all the best, all the success, and I hope everybody plays nice together in the sandbox.
They will. We're all friends, so
good,
yeah, we're all friends, so that makes it real easy.
Yeah, that makes it easy. No, like, you know, when you're going to other locations that you don't know anybody, you know, I mean, you know who these people are because you're in the genre. You know who's in the genre, but you know, they don't necessarily look at you as a cryptid guy or a UFO guy or a ghost hunter guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they go, oh, it's not. None of it's connected.
Yeah.
Dude, it's
you know
all
what was
connected.
really funny though, when we were in Michigan, you know, Letitia Nunley went with us, and she took some of Barton's drawings up there, and you wouldn't believe the people that knew who he was up there. You know, and this was strictly a paranormal deal, so that was kind of cool, you know, for them. That
I'm wearing the Michigan Dogman shirt tonight, ladies. You know what I mean? You're Dogman country. So Dogman, look, the Dogman is wherever the Bigfoot is. If the Bigfoot is there, the Dogman is there. So
yep, that's my home state. Absolutely.
And they're all connected. All
Yeah.
these genres are connected. I don't care what
Absolutely, they
anybody
are.
says. They're
Yep.
all connected.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah.
Scott
Well,
asked, I guess when are we going to Michigan or are we going to Tennessee in July? Scott, we just did Michigan 2 weeks ago. We will be at the Bigfoot conference in Gatlinburg, Tennessee in July. I think it's like the 21st or 22nd or something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the 20th, whatever that
It's
weekend falls
like the
there.
third weekend in July. I think it is the 21st or 22nd or something like that. But
Or
yeah,
the 22nd, 23rd. Hell, I don't know.
yeah,
I
we
don't
will.
know.
We will be at that one. So, Al, I've got a couple questions for you.
shoot.
Be Kind says, have you ever been to America's Stonehenge in Salem, New Hampshire?
I've never been there. The one time I've been invited 3 times. I know Dennis. He's a good friend of mine. And I got carte blanche when I go. But one time we were going up to film. We got caught in the hurricane. And we had to turn around and come back because there was no way we could have pulled our equipment out in that weather and did anything, and any useful. So never been there, but I'm dying to get there. And I got a lot of friends up there too in New Hampshire. A lot of people I know that are always inviting me up to symposiums and stuff like that. So
yeah, cool. And real quick, Scott, looks like Daryl posted the dates. So
22nd, 23rd. Yep.
Thanks, Daryl.
Thank you, Daryl.
Yep. And then
Daryl.
you have another question here from Daryl once again. And he asked, Al, can you tell your first Dogman story where it was under your porch?
Well, that wasn't actually the first Dogman story, Dar. I wasn't going down the Dogman road tonight, but I mean, if you ladies want to hear it, I will definitely discuss
Absolutely.
it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're all about what the viewers want to hear. So he asked, he wants to hear it. So
I was gonna stick to my Bigfoot story that I took a couple of lady ghost hunters out with, but we
can do that one too after.
Okay. So it was the third time I had a Dogman encounter. We had just found a den. We had gone to this den, right? We were bluff charged on an investigation, and we didn't know why we were bluff charged because we're up on a ridge. And it turned out there was a Dogman den down in the swamp, and the Dogman didn't want us there, and it bluff charged us to get us out. But we stand our ground, and it left. And but I was being pulled back. I was being pulled back to this location. I couldn't understand why. Long story short, we go there, and it's the weirdest thing. I don't know if it's ever happened to you ladies, but it happens to me a couple of times where you're out investigating, and you're all seasoned investigators, and there's something there, but you're not finding anything. And then you find one thing, and the veil is lifted from your eyes, and you start finding all kinds of stuff. Now, this happened to me on 2 separate occasions where I spent hours looking and I couldn't find anything. And then the veil was lifted and we found the Dogman den. Okay, now we know why we were bluff charged out of that area 6 months early, because there may have been pups in the den and we were way too close. Okay.
Wow.
So I go home, and one night I'm laying in bed. And I'm a city guy, born and raised in the city. You live on the first floor. You do not leave your windows open at night. Even if you have a goddamn screen that locks, you don't leave them open, because if you leave them open, somebody will come in. Okay. At this point in our lives, we had moved downstairs. The kids had both rooms upstairs, and we had moved downstairs to the spare bedroom. And it was I want to say it was early November, and it was a warm night, really, really warm. And I had packed up all the air conditions and all the fans. I had everything packed away down in the basement, and I wasn't going down to unpack all that crap, So I left the window open, and my wife was like, "You sleeping with the window open?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sleeping with the window open. I got a 12-gauge pistol grip shotgun right here in between all my guitars. If somebody sticks his head through that window, it'll be the last thing they ever do." And I'm laying in bed sleeping, and 3:00 in the morning, I pop up close to 2:45, something like that. I pop up. I don't know why I pop up, but I pop up. and I feel the wall to my left, which is faces the outside the backyard. Again, I don't know why I'm doing this, but something tells me touch the wall. And I feel this energy out in the yard, and it doesn't feel Sasquatchy. I've had Sasquatches come to my house and leave me gifts many times, you know. They always leave me quartz crystal stones too. And there's no quartz crystal in my area. But this doesn't feel like a Sasquatch. And all of a sudden, my little cat that's sleeping between my wife and I jumps up out of the bed, and she goes running upstairs sound like I heard elephants going up the steps to get underneath my kid's bed to hide. And I'm like, what the hell is that all about? So now I'm looking through the screen in the backyard, and it's pitch black and I can't see anything. And I'm looking, and I'm getting closer and closer to the screen, and a little voice in my head says, you may not want to get too close, you know? But I'm listening, and I could have sworn I heard something take like a sniff, like that. And I was like, okay. And I closed the window, I locked the window, and I grabbed the 12 gauge. I said, let's go see who's in the backyard, right? And as I'm walking, because that's the kind of guy I am. If there's something not right, I'm going towards it, not away from it, you know? And I start walking towards the backyard. I come out of the bedroom. I'm in the hallway. I'm walking through the living room, and a little voice in my head says, stop. You don't want to see what's out there. And I go up to the kitchen. I turn the sensor lights on in the patio. I'll see the whole backyard. It'll light up the whole yard, you know? But I don't get there. A little voice says, stop. You don't want to see what's out there. Mm-hmm. Go back to bed. And I do this. And this is against every fiber of my being. I go back to bed. I go to sleep. I get up in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, get ready to go to work. And I had just laid new lines to the well in the backyard, from the yard to the house, because my pump is in the basement, right? So I had the well lines redone because they were old. So there was no grass underneath my bedroom window. It was just dirt, you know. I hadn't gotten to the point where I threw seed down or anything. And I said, yeah, I come home from work. And I said, you know what? Let me go in the backyard. I tell Brian about it. I call him during lunch. I tell Brian. He says, you got to go back and look for tracks. See if there's any dog canine tracks, you know? And I was like, yeah. So I go back, and right underneath my bedroom window is 3 claw marks. Like, wow. Yeah, I was here, you know? No. So I take a picture of my window. I take a picture of the claw marks. I take a picture of everything so people can judge. I don't want people to think I'm bullshitting. And I put it all up. I put it on the site. I tell everybody about it. A couple of weeks go by, and I get up in the morning, and we've been having trouble with packs of wild dogs running through the neighborhood, tearing up garbages. So now I'm going outside with a little pocket knife, maybe 6-inch pocket knife, and a can of pepper spray, because I don't want to be a statistic on the government chart, right? If the dogs come after me, I'm fighting my way out of there. And that particular night, I don't know if we were supposed to get snow or something, but all the cars were in the driveway. So we're 4 deep, you know, and my car is the first one towards the road to get out, because I'm the first guy to leave in the morning. And I go in my car, and as I go in my car and I'm walking towards the car, the sensor lights go on the back on the deck, and I get the feeling that someone's watching me. And I turn around and I look. I don't see anything on my deck. I don't see anything in my neighbor's yards. I can't see under my deck because the sensor lights are right there. They're blinding me. I go to the car. I start it up. I let it run. I go back in the house. I figured as I'm going back in the house, something says this. Something's just bothering me, saying there's something underneath the deck. Like, I see a shadow under the deck. I'm like blocking the light, and I'm seeing a shadow, but I'm pretty far away because I'm 4 cars away, you know? And I was like, oh, is this a homeless person or something? You know, we don't have homeless people in my town, you know? What's going on? So I start walking towards it, and I flick open the knife and take the pepper spray out. As I'm coming out earlier that morning, when I get up, we have an outside cat called Callie. She sleeps in the doghouse. And I feed her every morning at 4:30 in the morning. I fed her. And as I'm walking towards the deck, the garage door, she's coming around the front to use my wife's garden as a litter box. And she looks under the deck, and she sees something. And she jumps up like a Halloween cat. And she takes off running into the woods, 100, but she sound like a bulldozer going through the woods. If this cat is 7 pounds, she's heavy, okay?
Wow.
And she couldn't get out. So now I'm thinking, what the hell is under the deck that scared the hell out of this cat? Because for a 7-pound cat, my 125-pound German Shepherd won't even walk past her. He's afraid of her. You know what I mean? So now I start walking closer, and I'm walking closer, and I'm getting closer, and now I'm seeing this humongous canine head underneath my deck. And it's not standing straight up because the deck is only maybe 7 feet high. It looks like it's on its haunches, you know? And as I'm getting closer, I'm seeing a mane, like a black mane. And then I hear a voice in my head. Now, I don't know if this is my guides telling me to stop or if it was telecommunication with the dog man telling me, but I hear a voice that says, you should stop before you get shredded to pieces. That's what the voice said to me.
Wow.
So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to stop, you know? I think I should stop here. And I stop and I back out. But I never take my eyes off this thing. I back out. And now I'm debating in my head, do I get the guns? Do I go to war with this thing? Should I wake up my son? My son-in-law is living with us. We're a family that shoots together. Everybody's got their own guns. Everybody can shoot. And I got all kinds of guns. I live upstate. I don't live in the city. I got all kinds of guns. And I decide I'm not going to go to war with this thing because I've heard enough stories where people go to war with these things and it's a bad ending. And every fiber of my being told me, before I even seen the canine head, told me what was under my deck. And so as I'm leaving that morning, I get my tactical flashlight and I look, I want to see now in the light, So I get the tactical flashlight and I hit underneath the deck with the tactical, and there's nothing there. So I go and I look to see what was there. And against my brand new retaining wall, this creature had pissed all over my wall. And it was oily and it smelled like ammonia and it was sticky. It was just nasty urine. I never seen anything quite like it. So I was like, okay, well, it knows where I live. I know where it lives. I don't know what this is all about. He's pissing on my wall, that kind of pissed me off. Like maybe I should go to his house and piss on his house now, but it's like, okay, I know where you live. You know where I live. No problem. I go to work. I get to work like an hour early. It's a long ride for me, an hour, 15 minutes. I like to unwind when I get to work. I don't want to have to jump right into work. So I have my coffee. I read the paper and my wife calls me and she's freaking out. I'm like, what are you freaking out about? And she's like, I opened the sliding glass door to feed Callie at 7:30 in the morning. And the door came down on me. And if my son wasn't in the kitchen at that moment to catch it, it would have crushed my wife. My wife's only like 4'11", you know what I mean?
Wow.
And I said, well, what are you feeding the cat for anyway? I fed the cat at 4:30 in the morning, And she said, I always feed the cat every day, I was like, okay. So I said, have Nick put the door back up. And I had my particular door, because I'm a city guy, I have 3 different kind of locks on it, you know what I mean? Because I know people can pop those doors off the tracks and get in if they want to, So I made sure when I got my sliding glass door, even if you popped it off the tracks, it wasn't going anywhere until I unlocked it, So I had my son put the door back up, lock everything back up. I was off the next day, and I took the door out of the wall, and I reached, and I put it back in, and I retracted. I did everything this way. But this is what I'm thinking. That when I was in the front of the house under the deck with the tactical flashlight, looking at the piss on the wall, it wasn't around the backyard, up on the back deck, and tried to pop that door off the track just to show me this. If I want to get in, I could get in,
Wow.
And which pissed me off. It really, really did. It rubbed me the wrong way. And,
Sure.
I went back to his house and, I didn't go directly to his house. I left maybe 100 yards of distance between me and the den. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go right up on it like I did the last time. And I was like, I know where you live. You know where I live. That now we're good. don't come back to my house anymore.
Mhm.
And I won't come back here, because if I come back here the next time, I'll burn this goddamn den down. You know what I mean? And like, again, I look like an idiot because I'm talking to the ether. You know what I mean? I'm talking to the woods. You know, if someone walked by, it was like, who the hell are you talking to? You know? But
Right.
I felt like it was something that I needed to do. You know, because it pissed all
Yeah.
over my wall, and that's a sign of dominance. You know what I mean? Like, you
Mhm.
know. So, and that's the short version of a long story. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
That
no,
is
I mean,
crazy.
it's pretty crazy. And like I said, I mean, I know some people hear it and they think I'm full of shit, and that's fine. They don't have to believe me if they don't want to. But I got nothing to prove by making this crap up. You know, this
Right.
is my life. This is who I am. This crazy shit happens to me all my life. All my
Well,
life
you
it's
know,
happened to
I
me.
had to laugh a little bit at what you had said earlier. Now, it had nothing to do with your story, kind of, but you were talking about first floor and having the windows open. I am, I don't know what, I can't do it. I can't even sleep with my window open.
Me either.
I can't do it. I cannot leave any windows in the house open. I can't.
No, me neither. I never do. That's the only 30 years. That was the only night I ever left the downstairs.
I can leave them all day, but once
Yes.
the sun starts to go down, I've got to shut those.
Yes, me
I do
too. And
too.
like I said, that went against every fiber of my being. Like, my wife is like, "Are you leaving the window open tonight?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's hot. I'm not going down to the basement to unwrap the fans, you know." And but it goes against every fiber of my being. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I can't do it. I cannot do it. I have to shut them. I'm like, well, the air conditioner's going to come on something, because this is not happening.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Like, I don't have central air. Our air conditioners go in and out of the window every summer and every fall. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, there's so much humidity here in Missouri too. I can't stand my windows open because at
Yeah,
night.
and I live almost in Arkansas, and it gets to the point where it's unbearable.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, where I work, there is no air conditioning.
Oh my God.
So, you know, it gets darn hot in there. So when I come home, I need a cool house. I have to. I have
Yeah,
to.
no, yeah, me too. I'm a cold weather person. You know what I mean? I like the cold. I don't like the heat. I sweat like a pig when it's and I'm grouchy and I'm miserable and I'm mean and I'm ornery, and I just give me the cold. You know?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I would say I get a little grouchy too. Like, it's too hot. It just makes you miserable.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it does absolutely. Yeah.
Al, can you
But
tell us the story you were going to tell us about with the Bigfoot?
okay, with the ladies, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was up where I live. I'm very lucky to live in a county that has a lot of paranormal investigators. When the Dutch settled Dutchess County, they called it the Devil's Playground because there was so much paranormal activity here. You know, so there's a lot of paranormal. We have a great network of people. Everybody gody gets along with everybody. We got one group that's the outcast that starts shit with everybody. Otherwise, there's 100 different groups and we all get along. So I was on an investigation with one of these groups, and two of the ladies on the group said, one was a psychic, and you know, one was like a tech person, and they were like, "Listen, next time you go swatching, we want to come. It's on our bucket list, you know." And I was like, "Okay, if you ladies want to come, I'll take you, no problem." So we set up an expedition in October, because that's when I usually go to this one location, because I have like 5 different locations, and the clans are always at these locations at different times of the year. You know what I mean? This one particular one with the sacred site is always around, basically around all year, but October they're really active. So I said, "Yeah, we'll go." And I said, "But you got to understand one thing. This is not like sitting in a haunted house. We're going to be in the middle of the woods. It gets dark under that tree canopy, and we're not starting any forest fires or anything like that.
Right.
We're going to be sitting there we sit in the dark all the time, up in attics and down in basements, and bada beam, bada boom." So, okay, let's go. So I took them out, and it was weird because there was supposed to be like 6 of us going, and everybody cancels except for me and the 2 women. Now, every time I go to this particular site, it's always been a bunch of guys. I never had any women with me. So now it's just me and 2 women. So we go out there, and we get up to the sacred site. And I like to go in day, night. I always do day, night whenever I go out. No matter what I do, I'm doing day, night. And I'm always going old school, new school. It's just who I am. So we get up there, and the woman who's the psychic is walking around feeling these rocks, touching these rocks, seeing what she can get. And the other woman who's a tech person is taking pictures of the breaks, the bends, the arches, the X's, and all of this stuff. Now, my psychic calls me and she's telling this woman, yeah, it's a sacred location. Native Americans use it to Sasquatch. And she's giving this woman this whole spiel about the location. When the psychic woman gets back from her walk around, she says, I just want to let you know, Al, I met a Native American woman on the outside of the circle, and she asked me, can I stay here until my tribe gets back? And I told her that was fine. And I said, absolutely, that is fine. She can stay here as long as she wants. Now, the other woman who was on the phone, my psychic, her jaws just dropped because my psychic just finished telling her about all the Native American stuff, you know? So now we're sitting in there. We have headlamps, but I don't like to use them. I only put them on when I leave, when I'm walking out, you know what I mean? So we're sitting there, and she's like, you know, I go in with 18-inch machetes, 10-inch survival knives, pepper spray, and a flare gun. That's basically what I take in me. I don't let anyone take firearms because I don't trust anybody with firearms but me. And if I don't have one, I don't want anyone else having one. And you're welcome, Daryl. And so we go in, and I explain to the woman, you know, what you need to do if we come across a black bear. The coyotes up here in the Northeast are as big as German Shepherds, and they run in big packs. And what you need to do if you come up against a coyote or a mountain lion, you know, you need to put steel between you and these creatures, you know, and you need to put something between you, a rock, a tree, or something that you can defend yourself behind. So I give them the whole big schmeal, the rundown. We go in, we get up to the sacred site. We put our chairs down. We're sitting there, and it's starting to get dark, and it's getting dark. And so I put out a circle of glow sticks around us for ambient light. Now it's dark. I mean, it's pitch black, and they're like, "Wow, you wasn't kidding when you said it gets dark." We're 4 miles into the woods. You know what I mean? This is not like a little walk around the block. We're 4 miles in, and she's like, Man, it gets dark under this tree canopy. So I told you it gets dark under this tree canopy. And then, you know, I do what I do. She goes, well, let's, you know, do what you do. And I use a Tibetan singing bowl as one of my techniques. And I fill the woods up with frequency and vibration. And when they hear it, they come in. Now, most of the time, it's just a scout who comes down off the high ridge and checks us out to see what we're doing. But this particular time, all the big guys came down, and you could hear them boom, 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 boom. And they're coming down off the ridge, and they're coming down the ridge, and they're walking around us, and they're circling us. And the girls are starting to freak out. You know, like, what, you know, that sounded like I heard elephants coming down. I said, yeah, those are the big guys. They're freaking out, you know, like, listen, ladies, you have to relax. This is the sacred site. No one has ever been hurt here. No one has ever been injured here. Nothing is going to happen to you, but you have to calm down, because if I can feel your anxiety, they can feel your anxiety. And the last thing we want to do is make them nervous. You know what I mean? And I explained to them early on that if something was to happen, never run, stand your ground, always stand your ground. You can't outrun these creatures anyway, so you might as well stand your ground. Because when you turn and run, you hit their prey drive, boom, right? Right. So now the big ones are all around us, and they're freaking out. And then we hear the whoops, whoop, whoop, you know, the howls, the whistles, the tree knocks, and then they start throwing rocks at us. And they're throwing rocks at us, but little rocks, pebbles. But they're not hitting us. They're landing around us just in front of the glow sticks. But we're getting like straight bombarded by rocks, just tons of rocks coming at us, out of the darkness. And the girls are freaking out. And I tell them, calm down, relax. This is what you're here for. You're here to experience the Bigfoots. This is what they do. Don't worry, we're okay. They're early enough in the night that they're not ready to, to me, it felt like they weren't ready to go hunting because it was still early enough in the night, Usually when they go hunting, it's 12-ish, something like that. That's when they usually herd us out because they want to hunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was still pretty early in the night, maybe, 10 o'clock-ish, something like that. And then one of them grabs a tree branch. It must have been a fresh branch. It must have been about this thick. And just snapped it. Boom. And it sounded like a 30-30 going off by your ear. I mean, it was that loud. If you would have been in the woods, you would have easily mistaken it for a gunshot. That's how loud it was. And the girls like, okay, we got to leave now. I said, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to pack up nice and calm, relaxed. That's our key to get out of here. Because we don't want them starting shaking trees. We don't want them ripping trees out of the ground, throwing it at us. That was our key note. It's time for you to leave, So then we pack up, and we hike out about 2 miles, and we come to a meadow, which is like another one of our sites. And we go to the meadow, we hunker down, we sit down, and we discuss everything that happened that night. And the girls are really excited. Oh my God, Al, that's so amazing. It was on our bucket list, and really wasn't sure if the Bigfoots existed, but there's no doubt in my mind now that they do, and yada yada yada. And everybody's all excited. And we sit there for about a half hour because it was like a 2-mile hike to that spot. So everybody sit down, get some water, take a break, Now we get onto the mining road. We're off of the goat trail. We're on the actual mining road, It's a concrete road. And we're on the mining road and we're hiking out. And we hear a whistle on our right. And we hear a whistle on our left. And we hear hooting behind us, way in the back. And I'm telling one of the women, not the psychic woman, the other one, I'm telling she goes, oh, that's a barred owl. I said, well, it may be a barred owl, but in this case, I think it's them hurting us out. And then the woman who's a psychic says, the whistling we're getting on either side of us are them. I said, yeah, I know. They're hurting us out. This is what they do. They're going to hurt us out for about another mile. And then they're going to drop back and they're going to go back to the sacred site. This happens every single time. Don't worry about it. Okay. Yeah. So we're walking nice, and we're getting the whistle and the hooting, and we get to that mile point, and we just pass it, and maybe we get like 100 yards past the third mile point, when the one that was way in the back comes racing up, and when I tell you, he must have went 100 yards in 1,000th of a second. It was just like boom. He was right behind us. And when he got behind us, the other two jumped out. Now, there was 3 of them on the road, and they started doing something I've never heard before in my life, the monkey barking. Hoo, 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 hoo. And the woods are echoing. I mean, this is insane, right? The girls take off running. Boom. They're on a full, just hauling ass. And I'm standing there screaming, stop. You can't outrun these. Stop. Come back. Stand your ground. And the vibe I got from them when that happened was the energy I was feeling from them was, hey, let's scare the shit out of these women. Okay. That was the vibe I got. That was and then it reached a fever pitch. And it started getting really they started jumping up and down and slapping the ground. And they're doing this monkey barking. And you can feel the vibration come down the concrete and go up your legs. And the monkey barking is going through you. And I'm trying to get these 2 women to come back to me. And it's getting crazy. I mean, and now the whole vibe has changed. I'm feeling if I don't do something right now, these three young, I think are young male adolescents, are going to come charging down here after these two women, right?
Wow.
My brain is going a zillion miles an hour trying to figure out what to do. Should I shoot the flare gun at them off the mining road? But then if I hit one of them and set them on fire, the other two are going to kill me. You know what I mean? Should I
Right.
shoot the flare gun over their head and so I could get eyes on them? But I don't want to put the woods on fire because it's October. What do? Okay, this is what I do. I pull out my machete and I put my headlamp on and I put the machete in the headlamp and I start flickering it like this so they can see the metal gleaming in the light. And I start walking towards them. And now I'm cursing at them like I'm cursing at people. You're not supposed to do this. This is not what you're supposed to do. You were just supposed to guide us out of here. This is bullshit. I'm not going to put up with it. You think I'm not going to wait till the big guys back there hear this because they can definitely hear it 3 miles away because it's so loud. The woods are just echoing, you know? And I'm sure the big guys probably said, what the hell is going on down here? Let's go see. And probably started walking our way to see what the juveniles were doing, you know, the adolescents. But the whole time I got my machete in my hand, I got my headlamp, and I got a really, really like 300 luma, something like that, 500 luma headlamp. So it shines far. And I'm trying to get them in my headlamp because I want to see who's created this, what's going on, who these three characters are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I swear to God, for every step I took forward, they must have took a step back because I never got them in the light. Now the girls are freaking out because I'm like 100 yards away from them and I'm walking toward them and they're like, Al, stop, don't get too close. You're too far away from us. Because I'm thinking, they're with me. I'm the alpha. They're mine. They're not yours. They're mine. And I got to protect these girls with my life. You know what I mean? Because they came out with me tonight, you know? Sure. So then I walked back to the two ladies. I said, put the machete away. I said, now we're going to walk out of here at our own pace and nothing's going to happen to us. I'm very confident in that. So one of the women was like, oh, Al, you're out of your mind. And she's freaking out. We start walking. We walk about a quarter mile. We still got like another 3/4 of a mile to get out to the car. And the woman who's the psychic says, Al, whatever you did, they're not following us anymore. So you scared them off, you know, whatever you did, you know, you did the right thing. And I was like, listen, I had to do something. I had to do something right then and there, because if I didn't do it in that moment, all I could see was these three juveniles. And I'm thinking they were between 5 foot tall, maybe 6 foot tall, 300, 400 pounds. Because when they were jumping up and down, you felt their feet hit. And then you felt their hands hit when they slapped the ground. It was like boom, boom, boom. But it was, and when they were going off with the monkey parking, you could tell there was 3 different distinct sounds. They didn't sound alike. All 3 of them sound different. It was just crazy. They get back to my Jeep and we're throwing the equipment in the Jeep, the machetes and everything. And one of the girls said, well, I could cross this off my bucket list. She goes, now I'll never go in the woods again. She goes, I won't even go to the park with my grandkids anymore.
Oh, no.
I'm done. She said, I'll never go in the woods again, ever again. She goes, that's good enough for me, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And that was an amazing. I never had it. Now, I don't know if it was 3 young men that caught the scent of the women and got excited, or if it was 3 young women that caught the scent of the women and were pissed. You know, I don't
that's
know.
possible.
Yeah,
that's why I wanted to get them in my headlamp to see if they were men or females. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't show them. They weren't standing their ground. They were backing up as I was walking towards them. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow. That would have been scary. I gotta admit, I'd have been freaking. What about you, Brandy?
Yeah, you know, yeah, I would have been too. But Al, I mean, would this deter you from taking women out in the field again, or
Absolutely
would
not.
you do it
No.
again?
No, absolutely not. No, I would definitely do it again. Yeah. So if I knew a couple of women that wanted to go out, I would take them out again.
Yeah.
If I was planning an expedition at that point in time, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I had a couple other people who were one's. Well, they're both ghost hunters, but one's also a ufologist, and they keep asking me to take them out. But every time I set something up, they always cancel on me. So I said, "Oh, the hell with it,"
Yeah.
Right.
They don't really want to go. You know what I mean?
Right.
They want to go, but they don't want to go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. We're fortunate that we've got we go with Barton and Daryl and War Criminal 7 and them, that they're willing to take us out to the woods. So
And I think and this is just one man's opinion. I think not only the Bigfoots, but the dog men too, in general, they respect the long knives more than they respect a gun.
Mhm.
Because if they've been here for millennium, they've seen what swords and spears and stuff can do to them. You know what I mean? It's probably seen them get sliced, arms cut off, heads cut off, and stuff like that. So, when I pulled that machete out and that blade was glimmering in the light, they didn't want no part of it. They was like, okay, they just backed off.
Right. And I've heard other people talk about stories of like male Sasquatch, with female women, like it piques their interest. So I could definitely get where
Yeah, I never experienced mucking, but as soon as I got to walk through the door, I had to walk my wife up out of a dead sleep to tell her what happened. And then I got on the YouTube looking for monkey barking to try to analyze what came close to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. I think the chimpanzee were the closest ones that came to it, but with not enough base or power. You know what I mean? Like, I tell people all the time, when you get these EVPs, whether it's an EVP of a ghost, or you get the recordings of Bigfoots and stuff with tree knocks, stuff like that.
Yeah.
What you record doesn't compare to what you hear audibly when you're out in the field. Mm-hmm. You just lose so much of the volume and the power behind it. I don't care if you ran it through a Marshall stack and turned it all the way up, you still wouldn't get the power you would get if you were in the woods and that creature was going off on you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, this has been, we're at 1 hour and 37 minutes. You guys, this has been fun. I could sit and listen to you all night, Al.
I know. I just feel like.
Seriously, we'll have to have you back.
We'll talk different subjects next time. We can go to either UFOs or just strictly cryptids. We don't care.
Yeah, we never did get to the UFO thing. So
no, we didn't get to any of the UFO stuff tonight because Daryl wanted the dog.
Oh, Daryl.
That's fine. And like I said, I gave you the short version of it. So I didn't really even get into it the way I normally get into it, because when I tell everybody, these are not stories, these are experiences, and when I tell them, I'm actually reliving them. You know what I mean?
Sure.
In my mind's eye, I'm going through all the motions that I went through at that point in time. Mm-hmm. So it comes across a little bit different than someone just reading a story that was sent to them, on an email or something,
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I'm a huge believer too, after what I personally have witnessed myself, that they're all intertwined.
Yes, they're all intertwined.
Absolutely.
So I was that flesh and blood girl for a long time until I witnessed, orbs, and then we seen these things coming, peeking around trees at the LBL. Like, how do you explain that,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I think we all start off as flesh. I went from Gigantopithecus, flesh and blood, to, Myth and Link. There was a lot in my journey. I can't tell you how many times I changed my mind. And now I know I've had an epiphany 2 winters ago. And after that epiphany, there was like, I seen the light and I realized,
Yeah.
okay, this is how it's all connected and everything. And one more thing before I will leave, I want to put this out to people because, and I always say, I try to mention in all my interviews, if you guys go out to a haunted house on Halloween, or if you go to a cemetery tour on Halloween, please protect yourself before you go in and cleanse yourself when you leave, because the intent is to bring these things in to scare you, and that energy that they use to, you're being scared, your energy is creating a negative energy, and dark things are attracted to that. And I can't tell you how many times I've got phone calls from people that said, I went to this attraction, now my house is, out of control, or I went to a cemetery thing and now I have something attached to me and I have to call people up that I know and put them in touch with the right people to cleanse them, and, depending on what they're dealing with. But these things are no joke. Don't think it's all fun and games. It is to you. It is to the people that are scaring you. But the intention that's out there in the ether is not.
Yep.
And dark shit will attach itself to you.
And one more thing, Al, that I'd like maybe you can touch on, because there's a certain person out in the chat here that likes to go out alone, and I've told him that I believe whether you're going out looking for cryptid, you're looking for paranormal, you should always take somebody. Always,
Yes.
always. Even if it is paranormal, you got somebody there that can help bring you out of it, because you never know what's gonna, something could jump you. You don't know. And the same thing with cryptid. You just don't know. So what is your feeling?
Even UFO, really, UFO.
Yeah. What?
No, never go alone. Never go alone to anywhere. Never go. Always tell people where you're gonna be. Look, we're all guilty of it. I've done it on occasion. I got a real quick story. I won't drag it out.
You're good.
I was at a slave cemetery doing an investigation by myself. Right down the street from us was about 30 other investigators investigating like this old mansion, right? But I had got there late, so they were like, "Oh, the slave cemetery is down the street. We've already been there." Like, okay, well, I'm going. You know what I mean? So I went to the slave cemetery and I did my thing. I had all the ITC stuff going, and I'm filming in UV, and I hear crashing coming through the woods. I don't think anything of it, because on my way to the slave cemetery, I've seen hundreds of deer grazing on the parkway, along the parkway, in people's yards. So I'm thinking it's a deer, right? I go there and I'm filming and I'm doing all this stuff and I'm having all kinds of success in the slave cemetery. And there's no headstones. There's just little like cobblestones in the ground, right? And I hear this thing coming up and I'm surrounded. I'm inside a wrought iron fence, like a 6-foot fence. And I hear something coming through the woods. So I point the IR camera, not the IR, the thermal camera out into the woods to see what's coming. And I see this thing running. And then it jumped. And then it crawled to a tree. And then it went from tree to tree to tree. And the next thing I knew, it was standing directly below me. And I was filming it. Wow. And I heard something sniff. Now, at first, when I heard the noise, I thought it was a deer. But then when I seen it on the camera bipedally, I thought it was a Sasquatch. Mm-hmm. So the next day, I said, now I got to walk back 2 blocks in the dark by myself to this house where everybody else is staying, right? And I'm walking back. I got my headlamp on. It's pitch black. Found out later that there was a lot of kids that did devil worshiping there at one point and everything. But I'm walking back and I'm trying to listen, and I hear something paralleling me to my left. And I'm walking. I turn around occasionally, look around. So you got my knife out, my survival knife. And I'm looking around. I get back to my car. I get into the house. I don't tell anybody anything. I thought the woods outside those gates were flat. That was the way I was seeing it on the thermal imager, okay? Mm-hmm. But when I went back the next day and looked, that the woods was actually like a bowl. And whatever this thing was, it jumped down into the bowl, and then it jumped from tree to tree to tree.
Mhm.
They got it right up on me. And in the end, it was a dog man.
Wow.
And I was in that cemetery all by myself, trapped behind a 6-foot wrought iron fence. It could have grabbed my leg and tried to drag me through the fence. It could have hopped over that 6-foot fence if it wasn't there and just shredded me. And I was like, oh my God. At first I thought it was a deer. Then I thought it was a Bigfoot. It was the worst possible scenario, because when I actually put it on the big screen TV and slowed it down frame to frame to frame, you could actually see that it was a dog man. You know, it had all the big canine head and the haunches and the whole 9 yards. And then it made sense to me. I was in a slave cemetery. You know what I mean? And then people had done dark rituals there, like devil worshippers were there at one point hanging out. Before they built this giant development with all these homes, it was a farm, and the farm was deserted, and the kids were going there doing dark stuff, you know. So what would it attract? It would attract something dark like that to the cemetery, you know. So I was like, man, I'll never do that again, you know. Like, man, I'm so glad I made it back to my car, you know.
Yep, I hear that.
It was definitely following me, you know. And it was weird because, you know, I would look back. I never seen it, but every now and then I would see a central light go on one of the houses in the neighborhood. But I never seen a shadow, you know what I mean? The light would go on. They would never see any movement. But like I said, here I am, surrounded in a 6-foot, you know, fence, a raw fence. I was a goner, so don't ever go out by yourself, you know. And that was in a town with a cemetery with paved streets. Never mind being out in the woods on a goat trail where you could fall and break your leg and get stuck in a ravine somewhere, and no one will find you for 3 days. You know what I mean? So cell phones don't always work out there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's hit or miss, and you know, so.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
I always bring my flare gun. I always bring a whistle too. You know what I mean? When I know I'm going, my compass, whenever I know I'm going deep in the woods, I make sure if I even bring food and water in case something happens and I get stuck out there or something happens. I break an ankle, you know. I do. You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for anything that might happen. And if you go out there alone, you're just asking for shit to happen to you.
I would agree. Wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly agree. We appreciate you coming on tonight. Definitely.
Anytime, ladies. You just, you know, shoot me some dates whenever you want me back. And I'll check my schedule. If I'm open, you got me. Whenever you want me, you got me.
Well, the thing with me is I book way out, so
so you have plenty of time.
Okay, yes. Well, I'm really. I don't know what happened this year, but all of a sudden my schedule blew up. You know what I mean? It seems like every year when I want to do less and less, I say this year I'm only doing this amount. I'm only doing 12 this year, one a month. I end up doing 10 times more than you know.
Oh yeah.
Because I hate to turn people down. You know what I mean? So. So if you're willing to bring me on, then I gotta be willing to come on, you know.
Yep, I agree. This is our 4th this week ourselves, our 3 we regularly do, and then we have you know, Brandy does with Tex, and then I have brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and then 2 blonde shows, and then we also did Nana Boss this week.
So. Oh yeah. I stopped in quick for Nana Boss. Yeah.
That was fun.
I like Nana Boss. She's a sweetheart. Yeah,
I do too. She's a great gal.
She's a sweetheart. I try to support her whenever I can. Absolutely.
Me too. Yep. And that's what it's about, you know. Everybody getting along, and we're all looking for the same thing, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, I agree.
Yep. Well, we definitely appreciate you for sure. And like I said, I'll reach out to you again, and we'll have you back. And let's try to talk UFOs next time. We'll make a point.
Oh, I got some UFO experiences that will blow your mind. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So everybody stay tuned for part 2.
Coming in the future.
Coming in the future.
I just want to remind everybody also, Don't forget on April 1st, Texas News show Infamous Minds is coming out with his fabulous new co-host, Danielle Diva. That again is dropping April 1st. We're not sure of the time. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah. We'll post it in Blondes for sure.
Yes.
So, yep. Once again, guys, we appreciate each and every one of you. And we will see you guys. Brandy will see you Monday, and Allie will see you guys Thursday. And have a good night. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Go out and get a beer, Brandy.
There you
I'm
go.
not going.
See y'all
Bye,
later.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.